What's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and the Washington Commanders are reportedly trying to trade for edge rusher from the Cleveland Browns, Za'darius Smith. Will we become a Super Bowl contender if we trade for him? Is he a better option than Myles Garrett just because he'll be worth less in a trade? You have to give up like a first for Myles Garrett at least. Also, the Washington Commanders are reportedly, quote, calling around the NFL, unquote, as far as looking around to see where we could possibly make some trades. Are we going to be buyers leading up to the trade deadline? Before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all the content. As always, man, this is already my third video today. Who knows, man, if something else crazy pops off, you'll probably get a fourth one tonight. Also, become a channel member if you're not yet, because I'm working on those film sessions that are exclusive to channel members only. No ads, no crazy intro or outro, anything like that. Just pure film study, and that is it. Make sure you stay tuned. I'm gonna keep y'all updated on everything Commanders, whether we make trades, whether we don't, rumors about trades or anything like that. I'll keep y'all updated on all the injury situations, Jaden Daniels, Brandon Coleman, the entire team. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. And before we start to talk about anything, my bad for saying this so late. I should have said this a couple of videos ago, but shouts out to my dog George for the huge donation to the Cash App a couple of days ago. Really appreciate that, sir. I feel like the least I can do when y'all donate, and I'm not currently live streaming where I can thank you immediately, is the very next video thank you in that. So I really appreciate that. Again, really appreciate that, my dog George, man. Now let's go ahead and get to the content, man. So there's a rumor going around, according to Stainbrook NFL, who is a Cleveland Browns reporter. This is not coming from the Commanders side, to saying like, ooh, guess who the Commanders may want to get, and start spreading some rumors for Commanders content. No, this is a Browns reporter saying that the Commanders are apparently one of the teams that's interested and have talked to the Cleveland Browns about trading for defensive end Za'darius Smith. Not even just rumors, not even just interested, but apparently they're talking about that we've already called these people about it. And going to the direct source of the information, the exact tweet that's going to have his article also included attached to the tweet, he said the Baltimore Ravens, Detroit Lions, and the Washington Commanders, I mean, if you're in the same company as those other two teams, dare I say we are Super Bowl contenders, looking to be buyers leading up to the trade deadline. Again, we're going to talk about that later. But his exact tweet was, the Ravens, Lions, and Commanders are just a few of the teams, so there's probably even more teams than that, who have talked with the Cleveland Browns regarding defensive end Za'Darius Smith, per league sources. Now, that doesn't exactly mean that since we've called them about him that we're going to get him, but that shows that we are interested in edge rushers right now, and we're looking at teams that will potentially be sellers leading up to the trade deadline that have fallen below expectations for what they had for this season. So we, at the very least, even if we don't specifically go get Za'Darius Smith, you can tell that the Commanders feel like they have a need for edge rusher. So don't be surprised if, even if we don't get Za'Darius Smith specifically from the Browns, maybe we go get an edge rusher from another team that's probably in sell mode, that's willing to give up a really good player for a draft pick just because their season is just basically going downhill. And there's that debate that could be had. Is it edge rusher or cornerback that we need more? I know technically our secondary has been the one that's been getting exposed the most, but could you make the argument that edge rusher, if our pass rush is better and more consistent, then the secondary wouldn't have to cover as long and they wouldn't be as exposed as much? So, I mean, chicken or the egg type of situation. But either way, going directly to the article written by Brad Stainbrook of the Orange and Brown Report on 247sports.com, he said, following the Amari Cooper trade last week, multiple teams are calling the Cleveland Browns regarding the availability of defensive end Za'Darius Smith. The Baltimore Ravens, Detroit Lions, and Washington Commanders are just a few of the teams who have talked to Cleveland regarding the veteran player, a league source tells the OBR.com. As of last week, Andrew Berry was hesitant to trade away Smith, but as a team continues to tally more losses, Cleveland's chances of unloading the veteran for another draft pick will likely increase. Smith was originally drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in 2015. Smith also spent some time with the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings before being traded to Cleveland in 2023. Remember, the Cleveland Browns had to trade for him. Maybe they'll try to recoup some of that value by trading him away. Smith is known for his explosive burst off the edge and his ability to disrupt opposing offenses by collapsing the pocket. He can play both inside and outside on the defensive line, which will be very helpful for us because not only did we lose Javonte Jean-Baptiste as an edge rusher and Dorance Armstrong is also banged up as an edge rusher, we also lost Jonathan Allen for the entire season. So a guy that can play both inside and outside will be a huge help because we'll need a little bit of both. We'll definitely ask him to do both. Continuing with the article, that makes him valuable in multiple schemes this late into the season. Smith has appeared in 23 games for Cleveland. He's recorded 9.5 sacks while forcing 1 fumble. I don't know if y'all remember, but Za'Darius Smith was the one that blasted Jaden Daniels on that first possession against the Browns. So I guess Za'Darius Smith starts game strong while Dante Fowler heats up mid-game. And then when we get Dorance Armstrong back, who has been our best and most consistent edge rusher all season, this could very well be a very deadly pass rush if you add Za'Darius Smith to it. Again, Za'Darius Smith starts strong, Dante Fowler finishes strong, and then Dorance Armstrong has kind of been like the most consistent all 4 quarters type of edge rusher that we've had. So that could be a very deadly pass rush. And on top of the fact, don't forget that we send Frankie Louisville and Wagner at the quarterback very often, especially Frankie Louisville. Even Joe Witt Jr. just recently said last week that Louisville will start to grow into more like a Micah Parsons-like role more than what he's done previously through the regular season as we go further into this season. So expect to see Frankie Louisville rush the passer more, especially once Jordan McGee is healthy enough and good enough and ready as a rookie that missed the majority of the offseason to contribute as an off-ball linebacker that can cover and stop the run and things like that. That would allow Frankie Louisville to have more freedom to even rush the passer. But either way, how about we just get a definitive edge rusher that's what they're going to do. They're either going to set the edge against the run, collapse the pocket, or go after the quarterback. Let's get a guy that literally does that. Again, just going back to Dante Fowler though, hey man, highest graded player from the Washington Commanders week 7. How about also with that 96.6 overall grade, the highest graded Washington Commander performance from any individual game, any individual player all season from the entire team. That's even including Jaden Daniels and anybody on the Commanders offense, even with as elite as our offense has been this season. And so Dante Fowler, don't sleep on him. He's starting to heat up. He's starting to catch his groove. And I gave y'all the heads up about this before the season even started. I told y'all that Dante Fowler was coming off of his most efficient statistical season of his career last year with the Cowboys. And he's already coming off to a hot start and even exceeding my expectations that I had for him. But I'm not as surprised as a lot of people are. Again, I told y'all before the offseason, Dante Fowler, I don't know, it seems like something's finally clicked. I know he's getting up there in age, but something has clicked for him. And you can tell by the way he's performing right now for us. But even though I love the film I've watched on Za'Darius Smith, I feel like Pro Football Focus, who I usually disagree with, is actually pretty accurate with the grades that they have for him, man, especially this season. Like right now, Za'Darius Smith has a 67.6 Pro Football Focus grade this season so far through 7 games. His highest grade is a 70.7 against us. Other than that, he has a 69 versus the Raiders. He has a 65.4 versus Dallas and a 65.2 versus Philadelphia. I mean, I guess take note that some of his better games of the season, well, though not great, some of his better games have been against NFC East opponents. Hey man, pull up and continue to do that if we trade for you, please. But to break down what really matters from his Pro Football Focus grades, we're not about to sit here and read every single game every single year and things like that. I want to point out the fact that this season alone, he is ranked 46th out of all edge rushers in the NFL just by his Pro Football Focus grade, and this is considered a down year. This is noticeably behind even Dante Fowler and Dorance Armstrong, who are both tied for 36th out of NFL edge rushers right now. Again, to remind you, Za'Darius Smith 46, Dorance Armstrong and Dante Fowler tied for 36th out of all edge rushers in Pro Football Focus grades. But last year, we're not talking about long ago, just last season, he had an 82.6 Pro Football Focus grade, which would be tied for 10th out of all NFL edge rushers this season if he were playing at that level this season. And I firmly believe that a lot of great players are having down years around the NFL, and this happens every year because they're on bad teams and are unmotivated to go out there and give it their all. You saw Devontae Adams with the Raiders. I'm sure, that first game against the Jets wasn't necessarily good, but I'm sure as they start to heat up, he's going to ball out. You saw Amari Cooper get to the Bills, and he doesn't even know the playbook yet. He's already catching a touchdown, and it's just like a lot of these guys are underperforming. First of all, the team around them is not helping them out, but also even just individually, internally, these guys are just not motivated to go out there and do that, in practice every day, every week, that extra push-up, that extra lap. When you're tired, you're going to run that because it's worth it, because at the end of the day, you're going to go on Sunday and lay it all out on the line. You're buying in with the team, and you believe that this team can win, and it's all going to add up and matter because you're going to win leaving Sundays. You're going to walk away with wins. That's not happening for a lot of these great talented players. A lot of these guys are making business decisions with their bodies, avoiding injury. A lot of these guys just don't feel like doing that extra push-up or that extra lap, that extra mile that you run in the morning before practice or whatever, or during practice. And I believe Za'Darius Smith is the exact same case, because in the past 2 seasons, he's been at least an 82 overall grade in both seasons. But as soon as the Browns start being terrible, suddenly he has a down year and he has a Pro Football Focus grade of a 67.6. It's not like he just randomly got worse compared to the 2022 season, the 2023 season, going into this season. Like he just fell off the cliff in 2024 compared to how he was the previous 2 seasons. And again, let's actually take it back even further. If we're talking about his best season of his NFL career so far, he had a 90.2 overall grade in 2019. Again, not that long ago. And if we somehow, but unlikely, I'm just going to emphasize this now, it's quite unlikely, but if we could somehow get that version of Za'Darius Smith after we traded for him, he would be the 7th best edge rusher in the entire NFL this season. So this is the potential, especially if you can get him for like a fairly cheap deal, because right now the Browns are on a garage sale mode. They got less in return for Amari Cooper than we did sending Jahan Dotson to the Eagles. So right now the Browns are willing to give away guys for less than people expect. So if you can get Za'Darius Smith for very cheap on a low risk, very extremely high reward opportunity, that is a big win-win for the Washington Commanders. And also feel like it's noteworthy to point out that he had the highest graded individual game of the season against us. For him, his best game, according to Pro Football Focus, was against the Washington Commanders. And the Commanders were probably like, hold up, our O-line has actually been great this season. And he still found a way to get 5 pressures against us. That's 4 hurries and a sack against us. I mean, our front office and coaching staff were probably watching that game like, man, we need some of that, especially with losing Javonte Jean-Baptiste to IR. He'll be out for a minimum of 4 weeks, and then Jonathan Allen out for season, and again, Dorrance Armstrong currently banged up. I'm not even sure if he'll play against the Bears. We may even feel the need to trade for Za'Darius Smith before this game against the Bears even happened. And also, while the Browns are in sell mode, hey, I still believe we should call about Myles Garrett, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Devin Bush, maybe for extremely cheap, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome. Already did an entire video breaking down each of those guys and why we should trade for each of them, their Pro Football Focus grades, and how they rank across the NFL at their respective positions, all that type of stuff. So go check out that video. We're not going to dive into that in this video. But honestly, to be completely 100 with y'all, even though corner looks like our biggest need, I honestly feel like edge rusher, a great edge rusher addition, would have the largest positive impact on this team, on this defense right now. Because again, chicken or the egg, because you can say, like, if coverage is better, it gives the defensive line more time to get to the quarterback. But if the defensive line can get to the quarterback quicker, guys in coverage don't have to cover as long and they don't get exposed. But at the end of the day, man, there's really no corner out there in the NFL that can cover for 5+ seconds consistently on an every down basis. I feel like the edge rusher situation and an improved pass rush should be our priority right now if we want to be buyers before the trade deadline. So I can see the logic behind trading for Za'Darius Smith over a guy like J.C. Horn, who I still really want, even after what Terry was doing to him yesterday. But at the same time, man, matter of fact, quit playing, Browns, man. Go ahead, send us Denzel Ward with Za'Darius Smith at the same time in the same trade package. That way, we don't even have to wonder anymore about if our defense has a bigger coverage problem or a pass rushing problem. Let's just fix both of them at the same time and not look back and even have to think about which one it was. When the defense starts balling out, I don't even care if I'm right or wrong at that point. I just want the Commanders to play well and win. Now, moving on to the second half of this video. Really, there's probably going to be less time taken up by this part, though. But before the Panthers game even happened, back on October 19th, sources said suggested that the Commanders have been quietly doing their due diligence regarding possible additions to the team per J. Jones 9. Washington could be buyers at the trade deadline, apparently. He has a tweet talking about taking a look at the wide receiver trade market around the league with 2 weeks left before the trade deadline. At the very end of the article, he says one team that could be buyers by the deadline, and he didn't necessarily even specifically emphasize wide receiver or any specific position, even though the article is mostly talking about wide receiver. He said, quote, sources say they've quietly been doing their due diligence around the league on potential additions, unquote. That's coming from Jonathan Jones himself, the guy that wrote the article and is reporting all of this about the Commanders. And like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of great players out there that are currently on bad teams that have probably just melded in mentally this season and making business decisions health-wise to avoid injuries or even if they haven't done that, they're probably even playing selfishly instead of playing like a part of the team, especially like pass rush playing, like instead of staying disciplined and allowing other guy to get the stats and to get the sack. Some guys, defensive line specifically, could be doing all that they can selfishly, forget the attack rush plan and staying disciplined. I'm trying to get the stats myself because this team is going nowhere and I at least got to look out for me and make sure my next contract I'm getting paid. There could be things like that happening in different ways from different position groups right now, but specifically edge rusher as well. That could be what's happening to Za'Darius Smith. So if there were a good team out there that some of these bad teams could possibly want to go to, I wouldn't be surprised if the Washington Commanders are coming up in some conversations with some of these agents. I mean, we could probably trade for some guys and they end up suddenly becoming the great versions of themselves again. And some people are going to think it's a miracle, but no, I really don't think people understand. Like at the end of the day, guys are human. No matter how talented they are, they are human. And it's just like at a certain point, especially 7 weeks into a season, you could clearly tell that you're on a team that is going absolutely nowhere. And some of these bad teams this year don't even have good cap space or resources to build for next year. So you're already looking ahead within the next year or two, maybe even further than that, and saying the future looks dark even for that. It's not even just a this season situation. So I'm trying to get up out of here right now. I'm trying to abandon ship before it sinks even further. Like the Cleveland Browns, for example, that Deshaun Watson contract, even though he's torn his ACL, they're cooked for the next couple of years. There is no way that they can acquire great talent to even make up for the fact that Deshaun Watson has torn his ACL. So, I mean, hopefully, I guess from their point of view, they're hoping that they could get a top quarterback in the draft and that guy solves all their problems, but they won't have the cap space to build around them like the Washington Commanders can around Jaden Daniels. So, if I'm a player on the Browns specifically and a lot of other teams around here, I'm doing whatever it takes to try to get onto the Washington Commanders. I'm even requesting a trade. Forget that, I'm demanding a trade. And to be completely honest, I think you add somehow Za'Darius Smith and Denzel Ward to this defense, I believe we are Super Bowl contenders. There's an argument to be had. Even Colin Cowherd was just making the argument earlier today that the Washington Commanders are right on the edge of being considered Super Bowl contenders in his eyes. And I feel like if you get Za'Darius Smith and Denzel Ward, or maybe even just Za'Darius Smith by himself, I think there's an easy argument to be made that the Washington Commanders are Super Bowl contenders. Am I saying that they're the best team in the NFL? Am I saying that they're the most dominant, most promising Super Bowl contender? Not necessarily, but I am saying that they should be in the conversation. So if you're looking at the Cleveland Browns, you have all of those great players over there. Maybe the New England Patriots are willing to get rid of a couple of guys. Of course, the Carolina Panthers, we've already talked about J.C. Horn and Deontay Johnson and a couple of guys over there. They also released cornerback Troy Hill if we want to take a look at him. The problem there is he's purely a slot corner, and that is it. Tennessee Titans, are we potentially looking over there to see if we could take somebody from them? Are the Jaguars potentially in sell mode at 2-5? The Raiders, you know what I'm saying? They already got rid of Devontae Adams. They've said repeatedly that they don't want to get rid of Max Crosby, but I don't know. I would keep calling. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? Of course you have the New York Giants, but I mean, there's some talent over there, but I'm skipping them and going straight to the Saints. They have some defensive talent for sure. They have some offensive talent that maybe we even want to look at. The Miami Dolphins, I know Tyreek Hill and those guys are tired of losing. You never know. Arizona Cardinals, they have some talent. We faced them earlier this year. You could tell. Now, the New York Jets, even though they're 2-5, I doubt they're going to go full sell mode because right now they're all eggs in one basket. They fired their head coach, and they're doing everything that they can, trading trading for Devontae Adams and everything like that so that they can win this year. It's not looking good, but hey. And then the Rams, I've seen some conversations about, even though Tre'Davious White has been injury prone and he's getting up there in age, the Rams right now are 2-4. This season isn't looking too good, even though one of their wins are against the 49ers. But maybe they're in sell mode, and maybe, I think it was Pro Football Focus, a Bleacher Report, somebody suggested that we go and trade for Tre'Davious White for extremely cheap. You never know, man. So I'm looking around the NFL. There's some teams that's probably in sell mode that we could take advantage and probably get a really good player for way cheaper than they should, because that trade deadline, man, that's where trade value gets a little funky. Again, just to remind you, for those of y'all that think that any trades may be unrealistic, we got more in return for Jahan Dotson than the Browns got in return for Amari Cooper. I really want to emphasize that. So never say never. Of course, I'll keep y'all updated and in tune with everything as far as rumors, official reports of anything the Washington Commanders may be doing as far as trade deadline goes. I will keep y'all updated immediately on all of that. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm that subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about the Washington Commanders potentially being buyers at the trade deadline, just in general. Do you feel like we should be buyers? Do you feel like we should take advantage of the fact that we have a quarterback on a rookie contract and do whatever we can to win a Super Bowl? Maybe not even just necessarily this season specifically, but within that next 4 or 5 years of that rookie contract. But this year, nothing's ever promised, because you never know. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury leaves after this season. So should we go relatively maybe not all eggs in one basket, but majority of the eggs in one basket this year? Because who knows what happens with Cliff Kingsbury next year. Let me know how you feel about Za'Darius Smith specifically. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. The reason we didn't do a deep dive on all of the other Browns players or even the Carolina Panthers players that we've talked about in this video that we could potentially trade for, again, I've done entire videos breaking those down, why we should trade for all of those guys in Pro Football Focus grades, stats, and all of that in previous videos. So if you want to find out about Deontay Johnson, JC Horn, or any of the Browns players like Myles Garrett, or even like Max Crosby over there with the Raiders, go check out my previous videos from last week. And I really appreciate y'all. Make sure you do not leave this video without stiff arming that like button. I'm gonna catch y'all later, probably tonight with maybe even another video. Catch y'all later. I'm out.